Let's talk about our first grade math curriculum picks as well as how I plan on mapping everything out this year. This is our third year using Kate Snow's curriculum. We did do preschool math at home, and then last year we did kindergarten math with confidence, and we're now going to get into first grade math with confidence. What I really like about her curriculum is that it's a very play-based approach. She's going to encourage you to use household products or little toys or things you have laying around the house. She always starts off with the warm-up activity, and then we get into our real activities, and then this year we're actually going to be doing 2 worksheets per lesson. That actually stood out to me because last year I kind of wish we had a little more book work, because I kind of noticed it's a little too late, but my little one is actually really good at math. And the one thing that I do appreciate about how she kind of laid it out, for this one you have 21.1a, and on the back you have 21.1b, meaning you can actually rip out this whole page and just put it in front of your little one, and they can do the front and back and not worry about it. Versus last year, if you were to rip out a page for the kindergarten, you have one lesson on one side and a different lesson on the other side, so you kind of have to make sure you're watching your little one to see if they're gonna do the next one, or if you're kind of gonna stop them if they're not ready for it yet. Something else that's different about this year's math book versus last year's is that on the top, you don't have the copy work. So you were actually practicing writing a few numbers every day throughout the whole year. And this year, you're not doing that at all. And in case you're wondering what I meant, this is what I mean. Every day, even up until the end of the workbook, you were tracing numbers for kindergarten math with confidence. With that one, you start off first doing numbers 0 to 10, and then eventually you go through the teens and you end up going up numbers. But this is something that was consistent that I actually appreciated about math with confidence kindergarten. I kind of wish we kind of had it again for math with confidence first grade, just because my little one does need the extra practice. But I am actually going to be adding that page into our morning menus. So because the practice writing isn't going to be part of our first grade curriculum, I did go ahead and make a copy of this page from one of her workbooks so that my little one can just be using it. And I also went ahead and print it out. I believe it's up to number 150. That way my little one can kind of be using it and reviewing it, since we're going to be learning to count that high this year. Something else that I'm actually doing this year is I'm actually laminating all the different resources that we're going to be using with our first grader. Last year we just had the paper copies, but those kind of got a little bit destroyed. And some of these, they are front and back, just in case he needs to see these a few different ways. Kate Snow actually does offer, I think, a sample of her teacher's manual online, and that's where I went ahead and printed these copies. I have this one too. I don't know if we're gonna end up needing it or not. That's why it's not laminated yet, but I just printed resources that I felt I needed. And this also came from those sample pages, because you just don't know if it's gonna be needed, and you don't, like I said, I don't want to be taking up time away from his learning how I did last year. I just want to be fully prepared for the worst and just have everything and know where everything is to kind of give my full attention to him the day of. I did see a lot of moms that use Math with Confidence supplement with Dimensions Math. So I went ahead and got the workbook 1A and 1B versus getting the entire set, because my thought process with this is that we're going to be using it to supplement. So for certain weeks, I'll go into more detail later, I will be bringing out the Dimensions Math and offering chapter 3, chapter 9, chapter 1, depending on when it aligns as a supplement for our Math with Confidence curriculum. And for the most part, Dimensions Math does end up lining up perfectly with Math with Confidence, but there are a few lessons chapter 11 through chapter 15 that just don't line up or supplement anything with Math with Confidence. So I am going to be teaching extra lessons at the end, probably towards weeks 33 to 37, just to kind of introduce those things, because I think they're going to be introducing fractions and a few other things as well. I am new to Dimensions Math, so this is going to be like our first time using it, but I am able to see why like some people end up liking it. You know, there's definitely like a lot of different exercises, different ways for you to like practice and review the same things, and that's kind of like what I'm looking for when adding this like curriculum to supplement our first grade math with confidence. I am going for a play-based approach, but I do know that my little one might not be interested in playing sometime, or he might just be able to kind of like do some extra problems or like be more ahead than I have planned for him. And if that is the case, I want to be able to offer him the things that he needs to be able to do what he wants to do. Now, Math with Confidence only goes up to 32 weeks, but we plan on going out a few extra weeks, even if it means like going into summer, to kind of like introduce those concepts that like Dimensions Math 1B is offering that my little one isn't going to learn in Math with Confidence first grade yet. Pretty much almost everything in Dimensions Math 1A and 1B lines up perfectly with Math with Confidence except chapters 11 to 15. So if you're going to end up like supplementing or combining these, those are the two that just don't really align. And also like I think it's chapter 9 of Dimensions Math 1A. So chapter 11 is comparing, chapter 12 is numbers to 40, chapter 13 is addition and subtraction within 40, chapter 14 is grouping and sharing, and then chapter 15 is fractions. So pretty much chapters 11 through 14 kind of gets like shown throughout Math with Confidence, but it doesn't really focus on anything specific like that. So those are the things that kind of stood out, but I do want to review before we complete everything. And then for workbook 1A, it is going to be review for us chapter 9, which is why it is going to be part of like the first week of Math with Confidence. We did go ahead and talk about that, not really in like the workbook, but more in like lessons, like showing like, oh, this one is first, this one's second, this one's third. So that's why I feel like it's going to be a perfect way to like review it within the first week, because pretty much the first week of Math with Confidence first grade is all about review. And since we are going to be learning about math facts this year, I did also grab Kate Snow's addition facts that stick, as well as the subtraction facts that stick. This one is like a 6-week and 8-week program, and depending on when we need it, I am going to be introducing it at like certain times. Like for week 4 of Math with Confidence, I plan on introducing the first week of addition facts that stick, because I think that's gonna be numbers 0 through 1. So I did go through everything, what times we're gonna be introducing Dimensions Math, when we're gonna be introducing the math facts, just to make sure that if I need the extra practice or if I need like the extra help for him, I have it available and I know when to offer it and bring it out versus me spending or taking time away from his learning the day of. For the addition and subtraction facts that stick, this, in case you are looking into it, it is like a week-long like lesson. It's gonna go ahead and kind of like teach you something, and then it's also gonna go ahead and give you like different activities that you can do that week with your little one, like practice pages, and that's gonna be kind of how that's laid out. So it does kind of like overlap with some of our Dimensions math days, but like I said, I'm gonna be picking and choosing which one I think he needs versus like throwing it all at him. Another thing that I did go ahead and grab that we're going to be using like on the weeks that we don't have Dimensions Math or don't have math facts is this cute little Minecraft theme math book. We're only going to be using like the first 42 pages because the first 42 pages cover numbers like 0 to 20, and we haven't touched on double digits, so that's probably going to be like for second grade. But this is going to be part of his like independent work, and he's just going to be doing it on the days that he just has nothing to do, but you can tell that he just is able to keep going with his math lessons. Now let's talk about how I kind of have everything mapped out when I plan on introducing things and why this is blank. So if you remember from like my original video a month ago where I said I'm gonna start planning, I said I'm gonna ditch the whole, teacher planner, just because I was getting tired of like whiting everything out, erasing and rewriting and pushing things back. And if I was planned out a month ahead, it just messed up everything and I felt like I was just wasting paper. So what I decided to do is, instead of like using a whole planner, I'm only going to be using 4 sheets to map out our whole school year of math. So this is going to go all the way up to, I believe, week 37. Now the reason these are blank is because I don't want to limit my little one's abilities like how I did last year. Last year I went ahead and had everything planned out, and once we got everything done, we just stopped there. We didn't continue like the learning going, even though there were some times where I know he could have kept going. So what I'm doing this year, and like my only goal for prepping, was kind of like coming up with a 32 to 37 week schedule, figure out when everything is going to be aligning with each other, and then kind of giving me like a 5-day plan. So depending on what we do that week, like we're going to do week 1 of Math with Confidence, first grade, and I'm also going to be offering the Dimensions Math chapter 9. So depending on how much we get done, I'll go ahead and document everything. He might take every day to do everything, or he might finish everything in like 1 to 3 days. He might end up doing extra things. I don't know how he's going to do it, but I know I'm not going to make the same mistake I did last year and like limit his abilities. Also, something that I am aware of is we might also start things early. And with that in mind, because I did it this way, I know what I'm able to offer next, and I can just write that in on like the next days. I do have everything color coded, so I know exactly when something is going to get offered. And also I do plan on like highlighting or shading in what we get done. That way, if say we are ahead, say like week 2, we end up starting week 4 things, like I know what's next because it's not colored in. I know what we did because I wrote it in. So this is kind of like my prepared for the worst case scenario, you know, whether we're ahead, behind, who knows what the case may be. I'm going to be, what is it called? Like reverse planning and like writing everything in. But also I know that certain things are going to have to get done during certain times, certain weeks, certain things align. So this kind of gives me like an overview of how things should be, and then I'll be writing in what we actually get done. In case you're thinking of like supplementing or using these resources for the future, let me go ahead and just like get everything all cutesy and pretty. That way you guys can like screenshot and like save it for later on. I don't know how this method is gonna work. I feel like it's a better plan versus having like my planner and just wasting and erasing and all that stuff. I did the same thing for every other like curriculum that we're going to be using, so I'll share those as like we go through them. I just kind of wanted to show you guys what we're going to be using, different ways that we're going to be supplementing and introducing things, as well as like how I have everything planned out.